Hey everybody, Solocast. How you doing? You ever hear a noise and then you go to see where the noise is coming from and then you don't hear it anymore? And then you're just standing there like a dumbass with your head kind of sticking out and your hands out like you're quiet and there's no one there and you're just like, oh, you're trying not to make a move, you're standing still. Where's this noise coming from? And then you don't hear anything. And then as soon as you turn around to walk away, then you hear it again. Well, that's the kind of exciting shit that's filling my day. Yeah, I was just sitting down to record this, and I heard like a click clack coming from outside, and I thought maybe it was the window. Is the window open? So I shut that. And I was like listening for it. I'm like, oh, I don't hear anything anymore. And then as soon as I came back in the room and shut the door, click clack. What is that? Where's that? So then I went and stood in the hallway for like 30 minutes. Silent, still. Didn't hear anything. Came back in the room. Click clack. And it wasn't the door shutting. It was something out there. I was only in the hallway for like 30 seconds, but the mysteries of life. Oh, the intriguing, unsolved mysteries. Yeah, there's a lot of those like unconscious things. You ever get into like a sorry word vomit when someone's like walking towards you, and then you do that little dance where you're like walking the other way, and you're just like, oh, sorry, excuse me, sorry. I think that might have happened the other day when I was walking on a trail. And I was like, yeah, it's we don't have to say we're sorry 15 times. And I'm doing it too. It's just like one of these things that you get like looped into. It's like, oh, sorry. Trying to decondition myself from the programming, man. But it is kind of that programming. Was on a hike and saw a guy running with a bandana that he was holding over his mouth as he was running. Maybe he just put it there to, like, as he passed by us, but man, it is just weird. It's just this whole time period right now is just weird. Very, very strange. Yeah. But the best thing you could do is take care of yourself and focus on what you enjoy. That's what I'm doing. So I've been getting out a lot during the summer, going camping, going hiking, going rafting soon, paddle boarding. It's great. I would live out there. I think that I might get a little might go a little Dr. Ryan and throw down on a ScarJo of my own. Get a van and drive around and pretty much live outside, live in epic locations. I think that every time I go camping, I always see people with like really, because I have like a pretty basic setup. So after a couple days, it's like, all right, I'm ready to get home to the comforts of the home. After, maybe 4 or 5 days, it's like, all right, enough. I'm ready to like lie in my bed and just have some air conditioning or whatever. But I think if I had just a couple more upgrades, if I had a couple more comfortable things, that I think I could do it. Because there's just no better place than being outside, especially out here in Colorado. It's just beautiful. I mean, actually, Colorado sucks. Don't come here. It's it's terrible. It's horrible. Yeah, that's like always an issue whenever a place is popular, and then like a bunch of people come and things change, and then it becomes not as great. But But I appreciate that actually when I see people on Instagram who are traveling and posting pictures of stuff. Sometimes they say, keep this place wild as like the location, which is great. It's nice. I like it. I like that sort of old school. You got to find out. You got to hear about it. Someone's got to tell you. You got to kind of work your way into knowing about where that spot is near that waterfall, and that sort of thing. It's kind of nice. It makes it special. It makes it worthwhile, and it does keep it wild. When you post a picture of a place and you tag the location, and now the way that everybody behaves now with online culture, it's like, oh, this is the new trendy thing, this is the place to go, and then you have a million people there, and it's like, you know how people are. It's just collecting their experiences, just traveling around and just collecting little ornaments to take back to show everybody how look at what I did. And I know I do it a little bit too. I post pictures and stuff, but not as much. I mean, I really haven't been posting as many as I've been taking, and I've even wondered, why am I even taking this picture right now? What is it like? Why is there an automatic reaction that I have when I see something amazing and beautiful and wonderful that I need to capture it like a genie in a lamp and hold on to it? And it's my little goodie for, I mean, I suppose we all do it. There's something I remember I was thinking about this when I was high on LSD at a music festival. Those were the days. Oh, don't you remember being high as a kite at a music festival when everything was all right and we weren't in this epic long night? I think I could be a songwriter, and I'm going to start busting out more tunes on this show, so buckle the fuck up. Yeah, I remember saying to this girl, like, wow, this is such a beautiful, magical moment. The sun was setting, the mountains were in the distance, this band was playing. I forget who it was. Father John Misty, maybe, which is great. He's great. I love him. He's a real sardonic, caustic, jester type figure with who plays great, smooth sounds on his guitar. But I remember saying something like, yeah, this is such a beautiful moment. I'm torn between if I just want to embrace the moment and enjoy it, or if I want to capture it with like a video or a picture. I just don't know what to do. And she just like looked at me like, you're ruining the moment right now. Just shut up, I was like, yeah, she didn't say that, but that was kind of like the look. And I was like, oh yeah, I am kind of I'm just going to embrace it. And there's something cool about that. Where are all these pictures going to go? I mean, are they just going to live online? Is there going to be an online? Are we all going to die? Is Satan going to return to the planet? Is it the apocalypse? Is it Armageddon? Is it Revelations, Rapture, End Times? What's happening, folks? What's the deal with this Luciferian sex cult? Am I right? Hey, this Epstein Island, more like an Epstein Guyland. I mean, who is this guy anyway? They're selling children in cabinets. Can you believe it, George? It's unbelievable, Jerry. I mean, I saw Newman. I saw him in the woods. He was talking with an owl, getting orders from an owl. I think the post office is evil. Yeah, that would be more of a Kramer thing. I'm telling you, Jerry. I'm telling you. I think the post office is totally satanic. Totally satanic. Luciferian cult. Giddy up, buddy. Yeah, that would be a great. Oh, you better believe it, buddy. It's the Illuminati. And how did you become a member of the Illuminati, Kramer? They like me. I've got sparkle. George is getting upset. How come he gets to be a part of the Illuminati and not me? Well, you just don't know how to sacrifice, buddy. I tried these psilocybin mushrooms the other day. Whoa! I mean, why do they call them mushrooms? When you take them, you go to a different room and you don't have much room. They should call them not much room. Ha ha. All improv, folks. All improv. None of this has been rehearsed nor practiced. Just keep that in mind. Raw, baby. That would be great if someone wrote like a Seinfeld that incorporated the sort of online internet conspiracy zeitgeist. You know, Elaine meets Ben Shapiro or something in like a bookstore. I met this great Jewish guy, and then Elaine, do you know who you're dating? You're dating Ben Shapiro, the internet troll, this guy, the Daily Wire guy. He talks like... There's crap. What's he doing? All right. But yeah, one of my favorite shows. It's great to go back and watch one of those shows. Like, just throw on Seinfeld, season 4, 5. It's like a different, you just leave the world. You're in a different, you're in this protected fantasy world that's insulated with the comedy structure, but it's just this like representation of sort of a world that never was, but something that could be, but that is still funny because it's relatable in the sense that it has all of the little idiosyncrasies that people engage in, much like Curb Your Enthusiasm, same kind of thing, which I think incorporates a little bit more real world elements into it. But it's just like transporting to some fantasy world. You know, like if some future civilization finds records, they're like, oh, this is what life must have been like back then. But yeah, it's just the way that I feel about the world now, the way that the amount of things that I feel like I'm taking in and that I'm exposed to, and maybe that the average person is exposed to as well, just makes that world seem like it's just some kind of... It would be irrelevant if not for my own nostalgia with it, and it still holds true with its interpersonal, situational kinds of dynamics. Some of it is obviously, a lot of it actually is pretty ridiculous, but funny to me always nonetheless. Another great show that I've been watching a lot of recently, so when I'm having a little free time and at night, I'll throw on some old Simpsons. The Simpsons in the 90s Simpsons. I don't think there's a soul on the planet that can convince me to watch a Simpsons episode that's in like the 2000s or something. It just that show lives in the 90s for me. That show from seasons, season 1 is still pretty like with the crude sketches and stuff, but seasons 2 I'd say 2 seasons, like probably seasons 3 to 6 is the core, like most amazing part of the series, and then I would say 2 to 10, maybe some of 11 or something is good, because there's some great episodes in like season 7 and season 8, but I think for me, really, season 4 to 6, I could watch every episode. It's fantastic. But season 3's got some great stuff in it too. I mean, the writers of that show were just so on the money with satire and parody and mocking American culture and politics. Very, very libertarian show, by the way, too. I mean, it's really great the way that they portray government in The Simpsons. I posted a clip the other day on my Instagram just because it's just great. I really like the style and the writing, and they have Kent Brockman, the newsman, go to the House floor, and they're like about to pass a bill to help Springfield, and some guy's like, I'd like to tack on a rider to that bill, $30 million to the perverted arts, and then the judge is like, all in favor, all opposed, and everyone's like, he throws the gavel, and he's like, all right, the bill's defeated, and it's like that's a pretty accurate representation, tacking on all these riders, tacking on all these things. I mean, when are we going to fucking wake the fuck up and learn? I think people are just, I don't know, man. I think it's just people are just too whipped up, People are really whipped up. I mean, I can get whipped up. Thankfully, I've been doing a lot of work on myself and, sacrificing and struggling and wanting to change on the inside. And thankfully, I have a wonderful partner who is able to see when I go out. She's able to see when I'm off in ego land, or if I'm getting pushed in certain directions and buttons are being triggered. She'd be like, no, come back here, dude. You're going off to a place that's not serving. It's so it's great. And yeah, it's amazing. I think it's great because it's great to have, for me, to have the perspective of how I used to be versus how I am, and then having like a visceral, actual sort of feeling of space being created when I feel like I want to just rip somebody's head off, and I'm like, oh, wait a second, I have a whole space here that I don't have to just go from, triggered to enraged, from push to shove to action, and to actually create like I could feel like this space. I'm just like, wow, it's like I don't even have to take a breath or count to 10. It's just like I think I used to. So I think that the work that I've been doing for the past, I don't know, for a long time has really, really helped, and I continue to do. And I always have those moments where I feel, and you've probably heard on this show, I'm sure I've had some shows where I've sounded like an arrogant asshole, or just, and I'm like, okay, went a little bit to ego town over there. And we all do it. We all have it. It's like the ego is there for a particular reason. And I mean, I don't even necessarily feel comfortable classifying it as like the ego. I feel like that word gets overused, and people attach this idea of like killing the ego. And I think that's all bullshit. I think that that it's just, we're human beings, and the real goal is to just try and approach every situation as if it's, with an appropriate response that will yield the most habitable space of outcome. I'll give you an example. I was on a bike ride with my girlfriend, and we were riding this great path in Denver, and we entered the path from an opposite direction that I usually don't enter it from. And we were riding, and I kind of did notice, like, I was like, that's kind of weird. That's interesting. I was like, there's no one really biking. There's a lot of people walking. I was like, I remember the other time I was here, I rode on that side. Is this, I was thinking in my head, I was like about 3 minutes when we were on the path, I realized, like, oh, wait a second. Because it maybe was like the second time that I entered from that location. And so this guy is, I don't know, maybe 50, 60-year-old guy, and his wife, where I assume is his wife, or kind of, they're walking, they're all geared up in their walking gear or their outdoor gear, like old people outdoor gear. He wasn't even that old. It was just like, he looked like a well-to-do person that gets the appropriate, like, he gets all the gear for and him and his wife, and they get like the same kind of gear and the brands and for every activity. So like for everything that they do, they have the thing for that activity. So if it's like a vigorous walk on a Saturday, they're in their like vigorous walk jumpsuit gear. And as I was riding by on my bike, he said to me, he goes, "What, the other side's not good enough for you?" And I think I gave him that like New York Bronx accent. He just said, he kind of had like a little twinge though. He said, "What, the other side's not good enough for you?" And I was just like, "Excuse me?" And he's like, "No bikes on this side." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, sorry." I was like, I didn't know. Yeah, and he's like, "Yeah." He's like, he was just like real grumpy and very, hostile and passive aggressive about the way in which he presented what he wanted to say to me. And I think that, and in that moment, I felt that sort of like rage kind of come up because of the way in which he presented what he wanted to say, the way he said what he said, the words that he chose, the way that he framed it, what he was thinking in his mind, as he's probably seeing me approach, he's probably thinking, to his wife or whatever, like, "Look at this fucking, these fucking people, they ride their bikes, we're trying to walk here. This is bullshit. The city should do something. These people should be arrested, whatever, blah, blah, blah." And then as I'm coming by, "What, the other side is not good enough for you?" And, so it's like, I wonder, so I think in the past, I asked him, I said, "What?" In the past, I think I would have had more of like an aggressive reaction. And, definitely when I was like a teenager, I would have just been like, "Fuck you," and kept riding. But I asked him, I was like, "What do you mean?" And then he was like, "No bikes on this side." So then I said, "Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't know, but thank you for telling me." And I didn't just end it there. I said, "Well, thank you for telling me in a very charged, passive aggressive way. I really appreciate the information, the way that you conveyed it." And I and I rode across the bridge, and my girlfriend followed me, and we went to the other side, and we were riding. And I still couldn't drop it. I was just like, "No, this side's good for me. Thank you. Thanks for pointing that out. This side works." And he's like, "It's not for you. It's for us." And, then my girlfriend kind of helped. She was like, "All right, I see you kind of going, what's going on?" And I got a little bit of it out, and I just was like, "Look, this is, I am a little charged up here. Like, I really don't like it when people communicate in that way. It's just awful. It makes you feel like you're like the way that he communicated to me, he already determined in his mind that I had consciously known that this side was for walkers and the other side was for bikers. And I decided to deliberately go down that path. Like, I'm this evil, demon kid guy that's riding my bike, and fuck you, man. I don't give a shit about your rules, and I don't care about you people. Like, he had built that image up, or, what I'm assuming in his mind of me. And then that's why he said the thing that he had said. And I was like, "Yeah, I just don't like it." And she's like, "Well, do you think that you responded in a good way?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then like after a little bit of talking, I was like, "Probably not. I probably could have just capped it at thank you. Oh, thanks for telling me, and on with your day." And I'd like to, I've definitely shown up in that way in other situations, but for whatever particular reason, I mean, the way that this guy said the thing to me, it really charged me up. It really made me angry. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I would love to just be like, "Okay, thank you, sir," and keep going. But I was just thinking about it. I was like, man, like, this is communication is like the number one problem, the number one issue that we are facing. It's everything else is under that. Climate change, war, death, famine, violence stems from lack of communication as well. Sometimes people are just evil pricks and they just want to be violent. But really everything that falls under that is this inability to exchange information in a way that is clearly like that people are able to understand. We're all walking around with these tightened up preconceived notions and these beliefs and these stories and these charged feelings and these trigger points and these traumas. And then when someone crosses our path, we just fucking project the shit onto them and just let them have it and zing, zing, zap. And it happened again when not too long ago, a couple days ago, I was up in the mountains here, and every time I've went to the mountains in Colorado, people are always nice, friendly, and so we like pulled into some shop because we were trying to find a particular campground and it wasn't showing up and our phones weren't working. And I had asked this woman a question at the shop, and she was like, "Yeah, it's it was like there was something about the Wi-Fi." She's like, "Yeah, it's the hotel's Wi-Fi. We don't have Wi-Fi here. Okay, we have dial-up. You know what dial-up is?" And like just the way in which she was speaking with me, I was like, okay, yeah. I was like, yes, I do. And then I just was like very polite, like, okay, thank you. But she was so charged. It was almost like just wait, oh, another stupid customer again asking for stupid things, son of a bitch. And I see it everywhere. I see it everywhere I go. It's not just these people or these kinds of people or those people. It's everybody. We all do it. We all do it. I'm sure that I'm guilty of it as well. And I see it, with the people who we would categorize as being on the left. I'll talk about the right as well, but I'm going to first address the left because that's where I have always considered myself to be. I mean, now I don't consider myself really to be anywhere, but I've always considered myself to be open, liberal. I mean, that kind of way. But I think there's a difference, now, and it's just or maybe this has always been the case, but it's these people are wrong. Those people are dumb. These people are stupid. Well, why did this guy do, to single out one attribute to characterize the entire totality of a, 30, 40-year-old, 50-year-old, 60-year-old person as just being dumb is to just completely miss the actual larger, nuanced, real issue. I hear it a lot with people with Trump. Well, he's a moron. I mean, you're gonna take his entire life and all of his experiences and everything that he's done and all of his the totality of his entire being and just categorize it as dumb. Yeah, he does a lot of dumb things. We all do a lot of dumb things. But I just think that the totalizing effect, right? So it's like when I see people talking about how all cops are bad, ACAB, fuck the pigs, all cops are bad. Well, I know cops, and they're not bad. And then you could say, well, they're bad because they're a part of the system, and they're a part of the problem, and blah 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 blah. And it's like, well, yeah, but they don't know that. If the cops that I know knew what I knew and still decided to become police officers, well, then I could say, well, okay, yeah, maybe you're accountable, you're responsible. And of course, when you're asked to carry out orders that are really wrong, that's kind of no excuse either, right? If something's really morally unjust and very wrong, I think it's a responsibility to kind of wake up and be like, what am I doing here? Am I contributing to actually serving life and serving peace? But a lot of them don't even think that way. It's, you have to understand that what would, I love what Charles Eisenstein says, and I agree with him on this. It's like, what would we do if we were in their if we were in their story, if we were them in their life, would we act any differently? Would we believe any differently? So I just think it's one of the most communication, understanding, listening, actually really listening and understanding to try and understand why does this person behave the way that they behave? Why do they believe the things that they believe? And to not group people into groups. I think it's easy to do. We could say white people, we could say black people, we could say Jews, we could say everybody that reads, everybody, podcasters, people with air conditioners in their homes. I don't know, iPhone users versus Android users, whatever. I'm sure that like the data, that the data can tell a lot of things, but they can't tell you the story of the individual, the entire movie that plays through the two holes in the top area of your head for your entire life, all the memories, all the sensory data points coming into your being, all the scars, the nicks, the scrapes, the everything, all the joys, all the horrors. Like nobody can know that. And so Robert Anton Wilson would call these like reality tunnels. When you're in a reality tunnel, you're only exposed to the things that you're exposed to in that tunnel. We can't all know everything. We can't all be aware of everything. And nowadays, it's everything is very accessible, but you could just drive yourself mad trying to conform to everybody's expectations of how you should be or what you should do, or and again, a lot of people don't have interest in that. A lot of people just want to live a good life, and their father was a cop, their grandfather was a cop. They got into policing, and they have a family, and they just want to take care of their family and have good times, and retire and have a pension, and they believe in the serving of they believe in standing up for liberty, and they believe in justice, and they believe in the due process and the criminal justice system, and the gotta stop criminals and thieves and rapists and murderers, and keep order and not have total chaos and these kinds of things. Those are their beliefs. The totality of their lived experiences have created that reality in which they live in. And you're not going to change that person's mind. You're not going to and to totalize that person and to push them into a group and just say, all cops are bad. It's really short-sighted. Same thing with saying that all Democrats are bad or all Republicans are bad. It's like there is no all. There's only individuals who were born, who were conceived to two other people that came together most of the time in a passionate love and with a joy to create a new being and bring him into the world or her into the world, and did the best that they could under the circumstances. And this person learned what they learned and experienced what they experienced, and were exposed to what they were exposed to at the times that they were. And sometimes, that click-clack sound's back. Well, couldn't find it. It disappeared on me again. But we lose. We lose when we say all. When we play into identity politics. We lose when we group a bunch of people together, when we label an individual as one thing. We stop looking at them as unique human beings, as individual points of subjective consciousness that we all are a part of, and we generalize them, and their whole thing into fitting into a particular narrative that justifies our emotions to feel righteousness or to feel moral superiority over them. Well, at least I'm not like those people. At least I'm not like this guy. Well, this guy must be really pathetic. Oh, this is just dumb. I know better. I have the solutions. I'm a man and I know the way. Let me tell you how it is. This is the way it is. That's how it is. This is how you do it. You don't do it like that. You do it like this. My name's Sam Elliott, and I drink Coors Banquet beer. It's the only beer made here in the Rockies. That's right, in Golden, Colorado. Not quite Sam Elliott, but I love that Sam Elliott voice. I'm almost thinking about taking up smoking cigarettes again, just so I can get that raspy. Welcome to Colorado. I'm Sam Elliott. You might not know me by name, but I'm the guy with the big mustache and the cowboy hat and the Big Lebowski. Now, I ain't never seen no Queen or Dundee's either, but this here story, the dude in here, Los Angeles, one of the best movies ever. So I understand the emotions, to want to say to want to be like, all Republicans are stupid, all Democrats are idiots, all, everybody lives in Florida is a fucking moron, or, this thing or that, or they don't know what they're doing over there in France. Oh, China's a bunch of fucking blah, blah, blah. It's easy to do that. Oh, all of Hollywood is, it's like, yeah, there's a lot of, we're all people, and there's a vast range of differences in every sector in which you go, even in the so-called psychedelic sector. It's not like you all of a sudden you start taking psychedelics and meeting people and everyone's just like holding hands and na 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 na. Everything is perfect and fine now. We're all friends and there's no disagreements and we all love each other. Everybody touch me. Ah, na, na. Oh no, don't. Wait, now do. I gave consent. Ah, na, na. See, sometimes when you improv, you just throw out a stinker, but sometimes it's all right. But I'm not gonna redo it because it's like lie. It's like if you're here with me right now, that's it. We're talking. Except I'm doing most of it. I'm doing all of it. But I'm imagining that you're there. So yeah, I think the complexity and the nuance is just really hard to hold. It's hard to understand, how, I think about like serial killers or, like mass shooters or something, and people being like, I don't know how anybody could do something like that. And it's like, well, I mean, you don't know, you can't, like, that's scary to me, is that how out of touch we are with our own shooters, our own killers, our own our own parts of us that are the person that's screaming at us and that we are going to scream back at, and we're just going to add to the fire and build, that energy tower to create, these monuments to fucking projections, and it just doesn't get anywhere. It doesn't solve anything. It's, I'm a big proponent of stepping outside of the game, stepping outside of the tug of war that others want you to have, that institutions want you to play, that government wants you to participate in. I mean, man, they have to run such a huge theater to whip everybody up into caring about them. And then we latch on and we identify with a team because we don't know who the fuck we are. So we think, well, these people, they stand for good things. And a lot of people don't even know. They just go, well, that guy looks good. He's a Democrat, so he looks good, and I think he's going to have a female running mate, so it's going to be great. It's going to be great. It's going to be better than what we have now, right? I mean, come on. It's like I hear the same shit every it's the same drama. It's doesn't it get boring? I mean, you know, it's just boring. You know, I think that these games that we play are seductive. They're seducing. They're easy. But they're dangerous. You know, they just keep us in a trance-like circle and a cycle of this mentality of like, well, they got one over me, so I'm going to get one over on them, and I'm going to have my day, and I'm going to show them, and I'm going to get mine, and I'm going to win this time, and we're going to defeat them this time. And, you know, life isn't like sports. In sports, that's the point. Sports is a self-contained finite game. It's like, hey, we're gonna go here and we're gonna do battle in this arena, and then when we leave, then that's it. It's over. It's done. Then we go back, and it's like, you know, I don't know. Maybe the average person is missing that level of like combat and challenge of a finite game, so they have to turn everything into, you know, I dominated, I crushed it, I'm stacking money, I'm making, you know, it was a top thing, and I got the house, and I got the boat, and I got the thing, and I got the cars, and it's like, all right, man, like that, you just turned your whole infinite game of living your life into a finite one, where it's never enough, you know, and they're identifying with all these things and becoming attached to the emotional weight of the values in which you're holding on to, you know, and then you become a part of that scarcity mindset, and you know, scarcity, security. I gotta protect my things. I got mine. Well, fuck you. Get off my lawn. Go get your own. You know, and that sort of thing. But I do see that shifting in places, which is good. I like that, and that's the way that I think it's gonna go. I think for those of us who don't want to participate in this sort of dominant game, that we're going to have to work hard to try and make things for ourselves in a sustainable way that, you know, that's, I don't know. Fuck. I just realized like halfway through that, I'm like, yeah, but you still have to like pay taxes, and by paying taxes, that perpetuates the system because it's feeding the beast, and that's how the beast survives, and the beast is government, and the beast has, you know, the government is the apocalypse, and then you have the four horsemen of like corporations and banks, and you know, I mean, it's a fucking mess. So maybe we're not going to get out of it altogether, but maybe we can enjoy a little bit of our time here, like I am, going camping over the summer, going hiking, traveling, having fun, relaxing in hammocks, sitting next to fires, roasting marshmallows. Haven't done that yet, lied about that, but I'm going to, and I'm very excited. I can't believe I haven't roasted a fucking marshmallow all summer, but I'm going to, and I am excited, as I said. That is, quote me on that. But these larger institutions, these systems, I mean, you know, they have psychologists working, you know, how to get the most people, the attention, the dopamine, the hits, clicks, the provocative headlines, all this kind of stuff, you know. As my friend once said so greatly, he's like, the life right now is kind of like Grand Theft Auto, but we've beaten the game, so now we're just running around shooting people at random and just doing crazy shit. It's like, we've beaten the game. We've achieved a lot. What else is there to do? Where are we going? What are we building? For who? Why? What is it? Does anyone ever fucking question? That's just the way it is. You know, you gotta, you know, put your head down. You go into work and you just, you know, mind your P's and Q's, and you know, take care of you. It's like, okay, but well, why? For what? Where are we what's the trajectory here? Well, you know, so we can, we can build, spaceships, and we can go into the galaxy, and we can explore space. It's like, yeah, but we're not going to do that because we can't even fucking get along. We can't even communicate and understand each other here. How the fuck are we going to communicate and understand other people out there? So, we're being stifled by the limited game, the limited war-like game, the limited zero-sum game, the fire with fire game that's perpetuated everywhere you go. Everywhere you go. It's like, I remember this song like years ago. I remember being in the car with an ex, and we were driving, and she like put this trash song on by I don't know, one of those trash country singers. And she's like, I took a Louisville Slugger to both headlights, and I keyed his car up. Fuck that guy. It's like, you cheat on me, motherfucker. I'm going to key your car up. I'm going to take a Louisville Slugger. I'm going to bash your windows. I don't know what voice I'm doing. I'm gonna bash your windows. And it's like this like revenge. Like, I'm going to get he cheated on me. I'm going to get him, or I'm going to punch him in the face, or I'm going to key his car. I'm going to break his stuff. It's like that mentality, like it never ends. It never ends. But then again, I guess it wouldn't. I mean, maybe it would make a good song. It would just be a totally different song. It would be like, I found out he cheated, but then we had a deep discussion about it, and we sought a marriage counselor. We got to some childhood wounds. And then he saw that I had the same wounds too, and I cried, and we both realized, and we looked each other in the eyes, and like, it doesn't have to be that way. This we don't have to take this like war-like mentality to every area of life. And I think that once we realize that, then I think we'll start to see the true magic that life holds, the true magic that is available to us every day, if we can just simply step outside of that, square agenda set box of revved up, riled up, whipped up propaganda, and just the feeding frenzy of the energy sucking parasitical elite. That they want disorder. They want divisiveness. They want hate, fear, anger. They want pointing fingers. They want blame, because that is what they know how to play. That's their game. That's the only thing that they know how to do is talk the talk and not walk the walk. You hear politicians talk about, like, for an example, like gun reform, or, and then you're like, okay, well, why do you have, you have fucking armed security guards, people with guns, all that. Like, oh no, it's okay. And America can still be the leading producer of weapons, and Raytheon and Lockheed and fucking General Dynamics and, all these other weapons manufacturers, and all this stuff. But yeah, it's like that's different. Well, you see here, that's government, you see, and there's a difference, because this country was founded on a tradition. It's like they always go back to like the principles and the founders, and I'm doing an Obama thing. Trump doesn't really do that, but it's just such a show. It's such a theater, and I think we like being a part of it. We like going to a magic show and knowing that it's a magic show, but then like suspending our disbelief and being, wow. Isn't this grand? Isn't this wonderful? This is the best. But you have, the magician and the magician's assistant, and the theater and the lights and the curtains and the whole production, and, the chemicals that they spray in there to make you hallucinate or whatever. But that's, as Charles Eisenstein would classify it as, it's the game of separation. And the playbook is divide and conquer, get people riled up, give people enemies, give people people to point fingers at other than looking inside, going inward, sitting down at a table with someone and having a conversation and really listening to them and listening to their experiences and how they think and why they think what they think and their beliefs and why do you have those beliefs? Oh yeah, my parents. I grew up in a very Christian household, and I went to Catholic school, and my dad drank a lot, and my mom was a nurse, and blah blah blah. And it's like, oh okay, yeah, my grandfather was in the war, and so they didn't have a lot of money, and they grew up in the Depression. It's like, wow, okay, you're starting to get a picture here. Or they came over from Lithuania, and this whole thing. Everybody has a tale to tell, and we don't know what that is until we actually sit down with them and find out. And it's not in rhetoric and conjecture and all this big bombastic loud noise that you hear from Trump or from Biden or from whoever, AOC, or any of these fucking frauds, these hacks, these tools, these puppets. They're don't, because I know what's going to happen. I can see it. I could see myself getting frustrated already as we inch towards November. Oh, dude, fucking Trump's not going to do it. We can't have. I mean, yeah, Trump. Yeah, okay, sure. Yeah, he's not the greatest. But it's like, and what I loved so much about what got me excited, what got me interested in politics. Fuck. I mean, really, I was intrigued by Obama, but really what turned me on was Ron Paul. Like when he would stand on the debate stage and just question the entire framing of like, why are we talking about, like Ron Paul would just stand there and be like, why are we talking about this? As if this is the most important thing that we could be discussing. Meanwhile, we're spending $700 billion on, wars that never end. And now we need to send money to Iran so we could pay China, and so we could build a democracy in Iraq, and and like it's just I loved how he just broke the matrix. Like he just opened it up and he was like, let's talk about the things that actually matter. Like what should the fundamental role of government be in our lives? And I was like, what is that? I don't get, and then I started paying attention more and more. But it's like the as Tom Woods would say, it's the 3x5 card of allowable opinion, and I've sort of expanded it to like the sanctioned playpen of allowable opinion, thought, and expression. It's like there's an agenda, there's a mold, like the people that make the product are the ones that tell you, well, this is these are the issues, healthcare, birth control, racism, poverty, and there hasn't been a solution to any of it. It's just like these are the things that they just spin around, back and forth. Well, you see here, what we do is we get a 1.5% increase on the tax, and then we have a thing over here. It's like nobody fucking questions the fundamental core, the actual, in psychedelic work and healing work. It's like getting to the root cause of the trauma, getting to those core wounds and exposing them, and then integrating that going through that process of unpacking that and seeing it and feeling it and talking about it and unfolding it. That's what we have to do as a society, as a culture. And fuck, I don't know. I mean, maybe we're not ready for it, but maybe we'll be forced to be ready for it, because the other way is just the same old shit over and over again. Same old shit, endless wars, endless spying, data, this and that, selling you shit you don't need, taxes and fucking, licenses and this and the other thing, and bureaucratic nonsense and long lines and, whatever, all the war on drugs, the prison population, the, poverty, like, nobody does anything about any of this stuff, because they don't go to the core. They don't go to the root. They talk about things, I mean, I understand the appeal of like a Bernie Sanders, but I don't trust the state to be doing really anything. I don't think that they're like, why would we, this massive machine that, and the other thing about that is it is actually kind of scary if, you have a lot, like, there's no savior in this realm. There's no savior in this realm. There's no party, there's no candidate, there's no, nobody's going to come in. No one's going to come into a fucking 1940 Cadillac Coupe de Ville that's been sitting in the second back driveway getting infested with a bee's nest and cobwebs and be like, oh, we're going to turn this thing into a fucking Lamborghini. It's like, not going to happen. Not going to happen. So, then people are like, well, then what are we supposed to do? Just do nothing? It's like, no, do a lot. Do a lot that serves the life that you want to create, the life that we all, are tapping into, the life especially that you're tapping into if you're really delving into psychedelics and inner work, that that there's something more, that it's not this world that's being sold. That's why I get so like disappointed with psychedelic people or quote unquote spiritual people when they buy in to the show. When you turn on CNN or the new, like, why would you do that? What are you doing? Timothy Leary had it right when he said, you got to turn on, tune in, drop out, but then also I would add, and create what you want to be and what you want to participate in, help build the new, help build, as Bucky Fuller would say, like, you can't fight the existing status quo, the existing establishment with a fight. You have to just create something that makes it obsolete, that something appealing that other people can say, oh, wow, that's cool. Hey, I met this guy that has this like permaculture garden and you can like stay on his property and he'll teach you some things. And, then, skill trade or whatever, or, hey, we're like composting or we're doing this or that. It's like, start in building more of that kind of stuff, start moving and gravitating towards more of that stuff, and stop, a lot of the stuff like consumerism, consumption, like buying all kinds of things, like get used stuff, get secondhand stuff, get things that, try and see what life can be like. You really have to have a shift in your values, and you have to have a shift in who you are and what you really decide that, the reality that you want to live in, because right now we're in like a choose your own reality landscape. You can bet your bottom dollar that, like, you walk down the street and you ask somebody like if they believe if the earth is round or flat, and you might get someone that says flat. Do you believe that there's like lizard people that are controlled? Yeah, you might get, yeah. Like 30 years ago, no. Like there's pretty much a general consensus as to what reality is. Now everybody has a different version of what reality is. So we're definitely in a state of transformation, definitely at a crisis point. And, I think one of the things I heard Richard Dolan talking about, who's a great UFO researcher, was talking about how, why are they talking about this information? The Pentagon said that they have off-world vehicles or parts, materials from vehicles not made of this earth. And he's like, well, why are they releasing this information now? What's the point? Is it real? Is it true? And it's like similar to psychedelics. Like whenever a report comes out, it says like, oh, psychedelics prove that, you can be happier and less depressed. It's like, yeah, anybody that's been taking them knows that. We don't need to know the fucking which neuron is firing and what's doing which. Like, just take it, have the experience, make it, use it to make your life better and to enrich, your life and your experiences and the people around you that you love and care about. And, Dolan was talking about this with the UFO documents being released, and he's just like, yeah, like maybe it's a thing where a lot of people are just so whipped up and concerned with other kinds of things that it's going to become harder and harder to understand what the truth actually is anymore. And on top of that, who even really is going to care? When the coming installation of 5G smart grid cities and, AI, facial recognition everywhere, everything is a smart thing, connected. Everybody's got RFID chips implanted in their arms because it's like, I saw this commercial. It's like, you no longer have to use money anymore. Now you can just wave your hand at your machine and get your favorite cola. It's like, oh wow, that's like the litmus test of progress. Like that's what it means to advance into the future, is just like we have a microchip in our hands now so we can wave it at a vending machine and get a Coke faster. Oh, I don't even have to move from my desk. I just get an Amazon delivery drone, drops a hot dog right in my mouth. I don't even have to get up. It even puts mustard and sauerkraut on it for me too. Like, we're not, like, is the goal to just be more efficient at the status quo, just to keep inventing new surface level solutions that address problems created by other solutions that were invented to correct other problems that were created by the same fucking thing, and on 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 it goes? Or are we actually going to get to a point where we stop and do some deep core trauma work and really hit the fundamental root causes and issues of why the world is so out of whack and out of balance? Then again, it's not all about us. It's not all about us and human beings. It's like this thing that we're in, this life that we're living, is infinitely complex. It doesn't care if we make it or not. We have to be the ones that care. But back to my Richard Dolan point, he was saying that, like, just this dumbed down, debased, culture that's just, we watch teenagers dancing and lip singing and gaming and, fucking just the dumb shit that people do, and the boozing and the partying and the fucking, and it's not to say that, like, these things are inherently bad things, but it's like the promotion and the encouragement of them, and the ubiquity of it, and the sort of, attention seeking, and the everybody wants to be a celebrity, everybody wants to be a CEO, everybody wants to be an entrepreneur, everybody wants to, the everybody wants to be like, something other than just themselves. They're just like a good partner, a good father, a good husband, a good cousin, a good brother, a good family member, a good friend. It's like everything has to be so grand. Attention seeking, smacking people down, getting it right, being extreme, being provocative, like, other people. Everybody's like, it's like these factions of, I think Peter Lindbergh might have been the one to coin the term. Well, I'm not sure if he coined the term, but he talks a lot about mimetic tribes. Like, if you transgress somebody else's sacred cow, their sacred values, then you trigger them. You trigger them to go even more into their camp, not to consider the argument of why, what you're, it's these mimetic tribes. Everyone's combating with each other, and everybody has their own little version of reality that they're shouting other people down and trying to insert themselves. And it's like, guys, why don't we just agree to disagree? You do things this way, we'll do things that way. You do, but it's not good enough for some people. Some people, they want, no, this can't be done. Everybody needs to do this. Everybody needs to, and back to Dolan's point, he's talking about, like, well, yeah, universal basic income. We hear that talk more and more, and it sounds great, right? Everybody can get some money and you can pursue whatever you want. But, what if that just means that we wind up in this sort of Brave New World type of scenario where everybody's just, distracted with orgy porgies, and we got our money and we got our drugs, and psychedelics are legal, but everything's functioning within this mainstream status quo, technocratic, oligarchic, parasitical apparatus. But we're all sort of too busy off in our own worlds to really care. Meanwhile, the empire marches across the globe, dominating and controlling everybody and causing, death and suffering and taking away everybody's capacity for empathy and capacity for humanness. And we all become these, cyborg beings. I mean, that seems to be the trajectory, for me. I don't know. I mean, it seems to be the lure of like new technology and efficiency and, the ethos of like productivity and like being a work and hustling and like all this stuff. It just all feeds into to perpetuating the system. And it's like, we got to find a way to like break those chains and step out and empower the individual and really, try and not repeat the cycles of history, because life moves in cycles. And we've seen this play out before. We've seen this show, it happens every time. Every time there's a large civilization, there's always the same end result. Otherwise, that large civilization would just be here today, and we would be, living in this like blissful, balanced state of just this like wonderful world with, of course, some of its flaws, but yeah. And I brought up on a show once before too about like the be all end all argument of people who are just like, "Oh, ever heard of science? It's science, bro. You don't believe in science?" It's like, again, another totalizing thing. It's like, yes, science has done a lot of good things, but science also has its flaws, right? Like, read The Science Delusion or Science Set Free by Rupert Sheldrake. Watch his TED Talk about the dogmas of science and the scientism. That we have this like religion of science, and we're dependent upon experts to tell us, even in everywhere we go, in every area of our life. Like, the trajectory of this like technology society is that the individual is distracted by entertainment, or lured in, seduced by entertainment and pleasure and hedonism, and then the so quote unquote experts, the agenda setters, the people, the game designers, set the boundaries, the borders, the rules, the allowable discourse, opinions, and expression. And we're like, okay, yeah, whatever. Like, someone's figuring it out. I'm sure someone's doing it. Someone knows somewhere. Oh, the scientists, they know. Or the medical professionals, they know. It's like, we no longer trust our own intuitions, our own body, our own bodily autonomy. I mean, fuck. I mean, this is nothing new. I've talked about this so many times before. I mean, it still just baffles my mind that you could have anybody be like, if you pick that mushroom from the ground and you eat it and it does something to you that we don't like, we're going to put you in a cage. And that one's okay, but not that one. That one, you're going to think different thoughts and you're going to have fun and you're going to see, it's like, obviously in the beginning of this podcast, the reason the quote from McKenna is like, psychedelics are illegal because they break down these constructed borders and boundaries that we've all been programmed to have in our minds, that keep us in it, keeps us in a mental prison, a prison of consciousness, a prison of your soul, a prison to only exist within the limitations. But there are no limitations. That's the thing. There are no limitations, and there are no limitations when you are a full and complete and being operating from your centered power of your own wisdom and authority and autonomy and sovereignty, that you understand reciprocity and respect and listening and communication. That's when we can have a better world. But the condition of the world now, well, yeah, of course you have to have cops, laws and all these things, because people they haven't been invited into that power, into their own power, into knowing that they have a power. I've come across so many people that are just like, I mean, what am I going to do? You know? And I mean, I wish I could travel like you. And it's like, dude, I'm not rich. Like, you can quit your fucking job, do something different. Go do what you want, be what you want, create what you want. Just do it. Just do it. Just do it. But it's like, I could, but I got the thing, and this, I can't do that because of this, and blah blah blah. It's like, no, you're making excuses to rationalize the fear program that's been installed in you. That's not you. You know, it's not you. You know, we're all meant to be the kings and queens of our own lives. We're all meant to be endowed with mastery and wisdom, to be able to know how to, you know, this thing as that we all unplug with and check out with. Like, as I brought up earlier in the show, like sometimes I watch the Simpsons, and again, it's like, not to say that like all entertainment is bad, but it's just the idea of entertainment as something else that someone does and we go to. And I think it was in a Eisenstein book where he talks about, you know, in tribal societies, everybody was a musician, everybody was an entertainer, everybody had an artistic expression, everybody did, you know, you could do everything. You knew the plants that would be good for you if you were feeling a certain way, if you were sick, or if your wife was sick or your daughter was sick. You knew the herbs and the medicines and the plants. You knew how to hunt. You knew how to, you know, use all the parts. You knew how to play a song. You knew how to do. It was like now this dependency on a hierarchy of experts and people outside of ourselves govern ourselves and control and manipulate with their, you know, fucking tyrannical joysticks, the borders and boundaries of the prisons that they keep us shackled in, and that are, you know, to fool us into thinking that we have this limited consciousness, that we're just this thing here for a temporary time, and we just, you know, go to work. There's nothing guaranteed in this life except death and taxes. I mean, like, all these you know, concessions to these like colloquial expressions and these things that we say and we do, and, you know, language shapes reality, thoughts create things. Like, the more that we like feed into it, the more that we you know, just reside and make concessions to the truth of who we really are. It's like the more and more we deepen into that system, you know, it's like, how many concessions, alterations, and augmentations do we make to our personalities when we show up in different situations? You know, it's like when you come home from work, you know, you worked all day and now you get to relax. You get to be yourself. Well, who were you before? Well, you know, that's just the way it is. Of course, you know, you got an employer and they ask you thing, they got to do a job, so you got to be the thing. It's like, it doesn't have to be that way. You know, you don't have to do that. I just think that, you know, many of us have these automated, programmed language responses that are just running inside of us, and we don't even know. You know, it's like, you know, more than happy to help you, sir. It's like, are you really? You know, are you really more than happy? Oh, it was truly a pleasure serving you today. Hope you guys come back and stay with us again. Like, you're just saying that because that's what is required of you to say to be a part of this organization. Then you do it for so long that you just kind of like become that. You just become this like weird bastardized version of yourself that serves this larger entity, and you're like, you don't even realize it. You just keep saying it over. Oh, thank you very much. Come again. Hey, thanks guys. Come in again. Hey, I hope you have a nice day. It's like, do you really? Or are you just, is these like programmed response, like this programmed nicety, this programmed civility, this fake false world that we keep building? We talk about fake news, but none of us are reporting the true news of our lives, of our experiences into the world. You know, and we wonder why everything is such a chaotic mess. It's because it's just fucking everywhere you go. It's just projection, 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 projection. And of course, as Carl Jung said, like those that we see that we don't like, the things that we see in them that we don't like, that triggers us, that makes us mad, is the things that we don't like in ourselves that we need to take a look at. I mean, 9 times out of 10, it's like anytime you see somebody getting really riled up about something that somebody else said or did, or just the way that somebody is. I mean, think about somebody who just like, like I just don't like these kinds of people because they're these kinds of people. It's like, do you even know anybody like that? Have you ever talked to anybody like that? Have you ever sat down and had a conversation? I mean, one of the great things I loved about the late, great Anthony Bourdain, one of my heroes, was that he had a travel show, which was really a food show, which was really disguised as a community building and connection show. And he would just go places and he would sit down with people and he would hear their stories, and he would be in a person's home in Laos and sit down with their family, and the wife would cook a meal for them, or they would all participate in bringing a meal together, and you would sit down and you would share in the other culture's food and their tradition and their experience, and listen to their story and their life experiences. And I believe that's the only way that you can really get, because once we do that, once we open ourselves to doing that, then we have to let go of the team that we were on. We have to let go of all the beliefs. It challenges us. And most people, especially people that are well educated, especially people that are high up in the elite establishment, they don't want things questioned. They've got money invested. They've got time invested. They got careers, reputations on the line. They don't want to be proven wrong. They don't want to be like, oh yeah, I guess, that's an interesting way to do it. Well, that's a new way to do it, and we'll consider that. That sounds good. It's like, no, this is the way, and this is the thing, and but these general niceties, it's this false version of ourselves that we put out there. I mean, I can't tell you how many emails I get where people are just like, "Hey, hope you're doing well. Like, would love to connect. Like, thanks for reading. Like, love your work. Love what you're doing. Do you really? Do you love it? Do you love me? You love my work. You hope that I'm doing well. What is this bullshit? Just and in America, I guess we would consider it rude to like just ask what you want, just say what you need. Is there a problem? I mean, if someone goes out of their way, oh, thank you, that was nice. Like, thank you very much. Yeah, even the concept of tipping is like, hey, I really appreciate the fact that you went above and beyond your job duties. Here's a little something extra for you. I really, now it's just it's this mandated thing. It's not even questioned. Like on most places they have 18, 20, 25, 30%. You just circle it and that's what you give. And of course I always do. I worked in the service industry, but I know it's because, the way that these people get paid, they don't get paid at the fucking restaurants. Like, oh, you want to work for us? Yeah, we'll pay you the minimum wage, and then you'll work for tips. So you gotta put on the show. You gotta put on the fucking song and dance to be like, hey, how you doing? Thanks for coming in, gang. Hey, all right, wow. Well, we got some lovely things here for you. Just let me know. Give me a holler. My name's Brett, and anything you need, I'll be right with you. All right, great. I'll see you. Hey, wonderful. Okay, yeah. Enjoy your evening. Great, fantastic, wonderful. Yeah, but it's like, dude, like, who are you? What are you? What is this? What the fuck are we doing here? Pay the fucking person what they're worth and let them just be a regular human being. It's like this we're creating this false world. We live in this false fucking world. And you take enough psychedelics, you shatter through the illusion and you realize, okay, I mean, maybe you do, I mean, there's so many traps, right? So we'll talk about that maybe in a different episode, but it's like, it's not just like a one-way ticket guaranteed to seeing the man behind the curtain or how the machine works or whatever, I mean, you have to be aware of of all of the projections that come with that, or of all of the materialism that comes with that, all of the bypassing and the gaslighting and all the things that come along with that, and the traps, the projections, and the misidentifications, and the attachments, and the inflations of ego and self and importance and story, and all this stuff. I mean, that's a big part of it. You don't just become Batman. You go through the trials and the tribulations and the challenges and the obstacles. But the language we choose to use is more important than, it literally shapes and molds reality. Like it creates our experiences. If somebody says something to you, like that story that I told in the beginning, it was like someone says something to you in a very charged, hostile way. That is literally like shooting an energetic weapon, right? So then the other side would say, well, that's why we need to police language but you can't get into that either, right? It's like you can't go right and you can't go left. Where do you go? You try and go down, you try and go up. You can't go there either. You got to just go everywhere. You just have to be everything and everywhere. You just have to understand every single side. You have to be fluid like water, as Bruce Lee would say, and move through and be situational and show up in the moment, with listening and not taking anything into the situation and adding into it and projecting into it. It's hard to do. It's hard to do. It's hard to do in the world that we have now, but there is a way out. There are avenues of ways out. The ultimate thing, though, is that people have to recognize, people have to have something happen in their lives that makes them come to a point where they realize that they have a choice and say, all right, well, do I keep rolling dice at this table? Or maybe do I go and sit down and play blackjack? Or maybe I'll go back to the hotel room, read that book at Texas Hold'em I have, and then enter in that contest tomorrow. Maybe I'll do something different this time. Like in the show Dark, they have the alternate time of great show on Netflix, by the way. It's really heady and accurate and cool. It's like Back to the Future meets Stranger Things, but in German and rated R. And it's like, every choice that we make, these choices, these decisions that we make create new realities, new timelines, new circumstances and events. It's how we show up. It's how we, it's how we play. It's how we become the conductor of the orchestra of our being. When we have gone through enough training, and I'm not there, I'm not saying I'm there, I'm on the path, I'm in conductor school, but I can get my orchestra playing pretty harmoniously. And every now and then there's like a rogue trombone that goes off course, and it's like, and I'm like, hey man, I had a good Bach thing kind of going on here. You kind of ruined it. But that's the nature of having, an infinite number of instruments, of energies and identities and attachments and beliefs and feelings and ideologies and philosophies and people and, situations and things outside of our control and shame and blame and guilt and, all that stuff. And it's like, if we can work on being the conductor of our orchestra and get everything playing in a harmonious way, well, that's one more contribution to the world. Because when we start showing up in that way, we disturb other people's games. We the person that was being nasty with me or whatever wanted me to rope me into their anger thing, and it's like, okay, I'm not going to play that. I'm playing something over here that's kind of a nice symphony, and I'm good with, like, my crew's good, we're good, and we're just going to continue on. Wish you the best. What I'm saying is, when you can show up in a different way. I always liked the saying of like, turn the other cheek. The Jesus philosophy of, like, even being on the cross and being like, forgive them, for they know not what they do. It's like, hey, if you're gonna come with such anger and such rage and such hate and such, it's like, almost like, well, I forgive you, because it's like, what? It must be horrible to live that existence. And I'm not going to contribute to participating and expanding that any further. And if I have an opportunity to show up in a different way, to show up in authenticity and truth and be my real true self, then I can contribute to putting true news into the world, and true information, true energy into the world. And maybe that changes things. Maybe that shifts things. Maybe it doesn't. But maybe it does. Maybe it has an opportunity. Maybe that person is a little defeated and they're like, I wonder why that person didn't. I yelled and screamed at them and called them names and they didn't say anything. That's, but maybe not. Maybe they're like, I got them. They didn't even say shit. Fuck them. Maybe not. Maybe one out of every 100 people is changed because of the way that you chose to show up differently, to stand there in a different energy, in a different light. Maybe they're like, whoa, oh, that was weird. Huh. And then maybe they start thinking about something. And then maybe they do it one time. And then maybe someone else, So you never know. But most of us have this deep programming that we need to cleanse. And it takes a long time to cleanse this deep programmed set of linguistic behavioral patterns and triggers and emotional trauma points and buttons. But of course it's like, conforming to play the parts and to get what we want and to make other people happy. And, it's just a never ending cycle. It's a never ending cycle. And it goes all the way out. It goes from us and our relationships and our partners and our homes and our families and our friends and into the community, into the neighborhood, into this, society, into the culture, into the global fucking empire. And until we're all just like mindlessly just begging for someone else to come in here and save us and fix us, because it's gotten to the point where it's so overwhelming that we can't possibly even see the core of the light inside of us. So we need somebody else to fucking shine it on something else. They don't even shine it back at you. Well, that was a lot. I don't even know what else to talk about. I mean, I didn't even really know what I was going to talk about. But I guess this also, I guess all of what I'm talking about ties into energy and attention. Wherever we put our energy and attention, that is what grows. That is what proliferates. That's what, expands. And, that whatever we feed. And we live in a world where we are feeding machines with energy. The Matrix, where it says, Morpheus is like, convert a human being into this. And he holds up a Duracell battery. And it's like, that's very much true. We are running on a treadmill just to produce energy for people at the top, while we get consolation prizes, fake plastic representations of the things that are real, that our soul is truly craving. We truly want connection and community and togetherness and love and care and respect and meaning and purpose. And instead we get a bunch of fake hippies singing together, standing at Big Sur, drinking Coca-Cola. It's like that. If you know what I'm talking about, it's like a famous Coke commercials from the early 70s or something. But it's like, that's what we get. We get a bastardized version. We get, isn't the world crazy? Wow. Then we get this limited, airbrushed, photoshopped version of the world that's not really real. But if we start shifting our energy and our attention into other things that aren't a part of this machine, this world dominating monster that operates in with those certain programs, with the win loss zero sum. I got mine, you got to get yours. Cutthroat, competitive, hustle hard, everyone for themselves, like that whole sort of system of beliefs and values and ideologies in this country and this nation and this people, we're proud and it's like, yeah, I mean, those things are good to some degree, but when they've overtaken and it becomes the entire operating system, it's like, let's let's divert our energies somewhere else. Like, man, like I saw on Twitter, like some kid from California created a petition to get Trader Joe's to change their packaging on certain foods because it was racist. It was like cultural appropriation or some fucking bullshit, dizzied, confused, spiraled nonsense of shit. That it's like, this is where we're spending our energy, guys. Like, why aren't we talking? Like, does anybody remember terrorism? Does anyone remember the wars, the bombs, the drones? Is that still happening? Or have we all just forgot? What about dragnet spying? And, what about fucking, child sex trafficking and all kinds of sex trafficking and fucking the criminal war on drugs and the black budget funding and the fucking off-world vehicles not made of this earth and what's on Antarctica and what's the deal with history? What's the deal with history? What have they not been telling us? Go Beckley Teppy. Hey, sounds more like okay. But I mean, really, it's like, and I get the intention, I get the intention to want to do good, to feel like you're serving good and that you're doing something good. But it's like, really, I mean, come on, aren't we just really nitpicking now some of the low hanging fruit to just get people riled up? I mean, I don't know, like fucking Trader Jose's. Oh my God, those evil bastards. Hey, what about this Wayfair thing? Oh, that's a bunch of bullshit. Yeah, don't even. Oh, they said that it was a mistake. It's like, oh, what about this? What about like China and like these declassified documents that Whitney Webb found, and from Freedom of Information Act that talk about how the United States needs to compete with China because we want to be the exporters of the technocratic, technologies to the rest of the world. We can't have that. No. Trader Jose's. That's what we should be. That's racist. Oh man, cultural appropriation. Oh, who's Biden going to pick as his VP? Oh man, we got to get him in there because it's going to be better than Trump. And it doesn't matter who sits on the pile of shit. It doesn't matter who is in charge of the fucking death machine. Like we're all in a fucking death camp, and we're voting for the person. We're like, oh, this person's gonna be better. And it's like, guys, literally we're in a fucking death camp. Like, hello, like, do you see your surroundings? Like, do we really need to choose like who's gonna be the line leader and on the way to the fucking ovens or whatever? Like, it's like, come on, like this is fucked. And maybe that's the thing. Maybe it's so fucked that a lot of people are like, well, I can't be bothered with that because obviously we human beings we're predisposed to doing the easiest thing. And I get it. I totally get it. It's a lot of shit. It's like, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to be bothered with that. I don't want to think about that. But we're in the fucking collapse. Like, where do you think this goes from here? Like, this is the collapse. We're in the collapse. And collapse is good. That's good. We want a collapse. We want the apocalypse. We want the lifting of the veil. We want more people to wake up to the fact that, like, oh yeah, maybe I don't need to be like purchasing all these things that I don't need. And maybe I don't need to be, driving this fucking, huge car that whatever, maybe I don't need to be, maybe I don't need to be doing, and maybe I can grow food. Maybe I can start a garden. Hey, maybe I can, meet with other people. Hey, maybe I don't need to buy every single thing that I need. Maybe I could share with other people. Hey, are you using that? Can I borrow it? Yeah, especially one-time use items, right? I'm mad because I had an idea for an app and then I found out that it exists, and I'm excited to use it. It's called Good Neighbor. The idea is basically like you could borrow things from your neighbors that you typically would only use one time. Like, oh man, I need a drill. Like I never use a drill. I need a drill. Oh, Steve's got a drill. Okay, cool. I'll borrow it from him. But it's like, I guess we just live in that age where apps are the intermediary. Like we need apps, we need technology to bring us back to the, I couldn't just like knock on someone's door and be like, do you have some milk I could borrow? They'd be like, what? All right, this is a little weird. But if it's like on an app, it's like, oh, okay. So maybe we could utilize technology to get us to a point where we actually start to become more human. We get back to our human roots. We enter into what McKenna called the archaic revival. And Charles Eisenstein talks about the new and ancient story. It's a new story for our time, but it's an ancient story. It's the thing that we all want, and we don't get it by, doing anything within the confines of the agenda-setting propagandistic, game. And psychedelics can help a lot. They're not gonna do it all, but they can help a lot. And one of the things they can help with is the elimination of fear and the realization of the infinite that you are, that we all are. This isn't like, we're not just like some fucking meat, some meat creatures walking around and, that's it. It's like, nah, man, this thing never ends. This is just one particular flavor that we've incarnated in, one particular realm in which we've chosen to take a part in for the experience that it offers, the nuanced experience, the way that I'm looking at my window right now as the light's shining through and the trees are blowing outside. I've never seen that before, and I'm seeing it now, and it's the intricacies, it's the minor masterpieces, the low-level, beautiful symphonies in the minutia and the details, the subtlety that we get to play a part in, that I get to be, the guy that I am, that you get to be the person that you are, and that's a totally new and unique experience because of all the interactions and all the experiences and all the time and all the energy and all the attention and all the things that we learned and the things that we did. It's like, that's the ultimate RPG leveling up game right here, right now. It's this. And what are we waiting for? And the religions and government and the agenda-setting media and other areas of control want you to fear. They want you to fear. They want you to fear death, fear your demise, fear you're going to be alone and you're going to be dead. You're going to be in a box in the ground. It's going to be black and you're going to suffer. You're going to go to hell. You're going to be in fire. The devil's going to poke you with a pitchfork in your dick hole. And I mean, that's a horrible way to live. It's a horrible, horrible story to play a part in. And it's like, man, maybe we can, maybe psychedelics can offer a way where you can come in touch with something that's so true and so real that you feel it in every fiber of your bones. That if someone else is like, well, that's not real, that's just a hallucination in the brain. It's like, all right, but it's made me better. I feel more at peace. I feel more at ease. I feel more free. I feel more liberated. I have less fear. But that's the great controller. We control ourselves by being in fear, fearing of everything. And there's not a whole lot to fear. Of course, fear will come up, but you don't have to invite it in and have it stay. You can look at it and say, what are you doing here? Okay, what do you have to tell me? What do you have to teach me? What do you have to show me? And then, act accordingly after that. But to live with like this ultimate fear, man, that's such a good way to control people. So I don't know. I've been having a pretty good summer. I've been enjoying myself. I've been really unplugging from a lot of this stuff. I don't really dive into the details as much as what's going on, because I don't really care, because it's the same fucking story over and over again. It doesn't matter. I mean, I guess it matters a little bit, but it doesn't really matter. We should just let the people that want to bite the hook to that story just keep getting slurped up by the fishermen that keep baiting them in the first place, and let the rest of us fish swim in the different direction. We are the fish that know we're swimming in the water. These other fish, they let them wonder what the hell is going on and keep biting the hook. Let them play that game. Let them live in that world. Let them continue in that world, and let's devote our energy and attention to other areas, to deep, healing work. I really truly believe that we're living in an age that is reactivating the mythic and the mystical, and those stories that we look to of the past, like that's always been there, and it's always been a part, like these ancient esoteric texts and books and practices and studies, like they've lasted the test of time for a reason. They've been resurrected by great people who've seen their value, and there's controlling forces in this world that know that and don't want people to have access to it, because that's the scariest thing of all time for them, is people realizing, oh, we don't need you assholes. Oh, we can sort things out for ourselves. We don't need like these. And when I say you assholes, I mean like the people that legitimize the authority of the systems in which they are enriching themselves from. No, we need this, otherwise we chaos. Oh, we need this. People are savages, or we need this for order. And it's like, we don't, though. We don't. Everything that we see, all of this was created by human beings. We're inhabited by human beings. Maybe there's, I don't know, maybe there's like an infiltration of alien races or something in there, but I don't know. I don't know about that. I have not seen conclusive evidence to support that, so I can't say. But even if it, like whatever, it's just even if that was the case, it's like it's still the belief in the systems, in the order, in the society, in the way that things are. And there is a larger canvas there. There's a choose your own adventure novel that we're all writing. Does this get repetitive? Do I say the same things over and over again? I mean, I don't know. I try and throw in some new things, but I just feel like this is what's at the top of my mind. And every time I look and see of like what's going on, and what do I want to talk about, and what's happening in my life, and I mean it just always seems, I feel like to talk about anything else really would just be like, I don't know. I mean, I feel like this is just the most important thing, so it's kind of like, keep talking about this, and I think that it's really, I really want to have the conversation of, and I've always wanted to have this conversation, and people look at you weird. They don't really know, like, where do you stand? What do you believe? Like, it's like, I want to talk about why we, how we can just do things that are radically different, that are outside the realm of the conventional general consensus agenda setting conversation. I don't know. I guess I see people of our generation and younger that just buy in. They just don't listen to anybody but yourself. I mean, like, hear what other people have to say, hear what a lot of people have to say, measure it up, sort it around, figure it out, and then come to your own conclusions. Come to what you believe in. And if someone else is telling you what you believe in is wrong, fuck them. You want to believe in it. As long as you're not causing harm or hurting anybody else, do that. I mean, that's what the world was a bunch of tribes of people that all believed in a varying degree of different things. We're not meant to live in this homogenous one world, system. It's just, we're not meant for that. The more and more that we get squeezed into this uniformity and conformity, the more I think that we're gonna see people wanting to desperately break out. I mean, the more we're gonna see a lot of diseases, a lot of problems, a lot of issues, a lot of conflict, and that can go a couple different ways. It could just become this kind of nightmare situation, or we can find the way out, from the pressure. All right, I guess that's all I got for this one. I don't know, maybe I've thought about doing things where I like kind of drill down on specific stuff and get into it, but I don't know. Maybe that's not what I do. I don't know. I don't have maybe I don't have the patience for that. I just kind of like to just build up to a point where I feel like I have a bunch of stuff that I want to jam on, and I just let it loose. But I've thought about like, oh, maybe I should talk about like what the Federal Reserve is, or maybe I should talk about the war on drugs, or maybe I should talk about the candidates and what they promised in their political campaigns and what they delivered, and maybe I should talk about the CIA, and maybe I should talk about, I don't know, maybe I should talk more about psychedelics. But then again, there's a lot of other shows that do that. So I'm interested in, I guess, just kind of having these flow like kind of rants, and then having some interesting conversations with people that I could have like real, authentic, genuine chats with, and not like manufactured interviewee style type things. But it is what it is. Till next time. Peace.